Storytelling with Data by Cole Nussbaumer Knaflic. Picture this. You're sitting in a meeting, staring at a slide crammed with so many charts and numbers that your brain just gives up. There are bars going everywhere, lines tangling like spaghetti, and maybe even one of those 3D pie charts that looks like it's about to slide right off the screen. You know there's something important buried in there somewhere, but honestly, you've already checked out. Whatever story the presenter was trying to tell has been completely lost in the chaos. Sound familiar? We've all suffered through presentations like this. In fact, it's become such a cliché in the business world that we almost expect it. But here's the thing. Buried inside every one of those confusing graphs is actually a powerful, crystal clear story just waiting to be told. A story that could convince your boss, energize your team, or even shift the entire direction of a company. Today we're exploring a book that's become the go-to guide for anyone who needs to communicate with data. It's called Storytelling with Data by Cole Nussbaumer Knaflic. And honestly, this book is more than just a guide. It's practically a crusade. Cole used to work as an analyst at Google, where she developed this amazing talent for turning messy, overwhelming data into clean, compelling stories. But she saw so many terrible graphs and presentations that she eventually left her job on what she calls a self-proclaimed mission to rid the world of bad PowerPoint slides. And you know what? She actually pulled it off. This book has become required reading in boardrooms, classrooms, and offices all over the world, helping hundreds of thousands of people finally get their ideas heard. The beautiful part? It's not written for data scientists or design gurus. It's written for you, for the student defending their thesis, the manager making a case to leadership, the executive presenting to the board. By the time we're done today, I promise you'll never look at a graph the same way again. You'll have a completely new framework for seeing the hidden stories in numbers. You'll learn 6 powerful lessons that can transform you from someone who just shows data into someone who tells unforgettable stories with data. Ready? Let's dive in. The journey to mastering storytelling with data starts in a surprising place. It doesn't begin with picking chart types, choosing colors, or even opening Excel. It starts with 3 simple questions. Who are you talking to? What do you need them to know or do? And how can you use data to help them get there? The author calls this understanding the context, and it's the most crucial step in the entire process. It's also the step most people completely skip. We get so excited about all the data we've collected and the analysis we've done that we just want to dump everything out there, as if proving how much work went into it. But Cole warns that this is like a pearl diver who finds 2 gorgeous pearls after cracking open 100 oysters, and then decides to pour all 100 oyster shells onto your desk. It's overwhelming, it's confusing, and it completely buries the pearls. Our job isn't to show all our work, our job is to show the pearls. And to do that, we need absolute clarity about who we're talking to and what we want them to do before we even think about creating a visual. Let's make this concrete. The book shares this great example. Imagine you're a 4th grade science teacher who just ran a pilot summer program to get kids excited about science. You surveyed the kids before and after, and the data clearly shows the program was a hit. Now you need funding to keep it going. Who's your audience? The parents? Other teachers? The kids? Nope. Your audience is the budget committee. They control the money. And what do you need them to do? You need them to approve your budget request. You need them to believe the program worked and give you the resources to continue. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. Your message isn't just, here's some survey results. Your message is, the pilot program worked beautifully, and we need you to fund it so we can keep changing how kids feel about science. That clarity changes everything. It becomes your North Star. guiding every single decision from here on out. Cole suggests distilling this into what she calls the big idea, a single, complete sentence that captures your unique point of view and what's at stake. For our science teacher, it might be: the pilot summer program successfully improved students' perceptions of science, and we recommend continuing it. Please approve our budget. Once you have that compass, and only then can you tackle the next question: how do you bring that story to life visually? This brings us to the toolbox. When we think about data visualization, we immediately picture graphs. But here's something most people don't realize. Sometimes the most powerful visual isn't a graph at all. When you've only got one or two numbers to share, the most effective thing you can do is just show the numbers. Big, bold, simple. Imagine a slide that says 20% of children had a stay-at-home mom in 2012, compared to 41% in 1970. That simple statement packs way more punch than burying those two numbers in some clunky bar chart. Of course, when you have more data, you'll need a table or a graph. Tables work great when people need to look up specific numbers, but they're absolutely terrible in live presentations. Why? Because the second you put up a dense table, your audience stops listening to you, they start reading, and boom, you've lost them. This is where graphs shine. A well-designed graph gets processed by our visual system, which is way faster than the verbal system we use to read tables. And here's the good news. You don't need 50 different chart types. A handful will handle almost everything you need. Cole identifies about a dozen she uses most often, but the real workhorses are simple lines and bars. Line graphs are perfect for continuous data, usually over time. Bar charts are your best friend for categorical data, comparing different groups. Yes, they're common, and that's actually a huge advantage. Your audience already knows how to read them, so they can focus on your message instead of figuring out your chart. But with the simple power of bar charts comes one unbreakable rule. Your bars must always start at 0. Always. Cole shares this jaw-dropping example from a news broadcast about tax cuts. The chart showed a tax rate of 35% next to a new rate of 39.6%. But because the vertical axis started at 34%, the second bar looked monumentally taller, creating the visual impression of a 460% increase, when the actual increase was only 13%. It's a classic way to mislead with data, whether you mean to or not, and once your audience spots it, your credibility is toast. While she champions bar charts, there's one popular chart type she absolutely despises: the pie chart. She calls them quite simply evil, and honestly, she's got a point. Our brains are terrible at accurately judging angles and areas. Try to tell which slice is bigger when they're close in size. It's nearly impossible. She shows this hilariously awful 3D tilted pie chart, where the slice labeled 31% looks way bigger than the slice labeled 34%, all because of the distorted perspective. It's basically a visual lie. Her solution? Almost always, a simple horizontal bar chart, sorted from largest to smallest, will tell the story more clearly and honestly. With bars, your eyes just have to compare endpoints along a straight line, something we're naturally good at. Sure, you lose the whole part-to-whole idea, but you gain clarity, and clarity wins every time. So you've nailed your context, chosen an effective visual, and avoided the evil pie chart. Now comes the part that feels almost magical: the art of subtraction. Cole introduces this concept called cognitive load. Every single element you put on a page, every line, every label, every color, uses up a little bit of your audience's mental energy. Clutter is the enemy of understanding because it cranks up the cognitive load for absolutely no reason. These are visual elements that take up space but don't add any real information. They're just noise. Our mission is to eliminate the noise so the signal, the actual story, can shine through. To do this, she introduces some brilliant concepts from the world of design, the Gestalt principles of visual perception. They sound fancy, but they're actually super intuitive rules about how our brains automatically find patterns. The principle of proximity says we see objects that are close together as a group, so instead of sticking a legend way off to the side, why not put the labels right next to what they're describing? This tiny change eliminates all that mental back and forth. The principle of similarity says we see things that share color, shape, or size as related. This is why you should use the same color for your data line and its label. It's a quiet signal that says, these belong together. The principle of closure says our brains like to complete shapes. We see a circle even if it's made of dashed lines. This means you can ditch all those heavy chart borders and background shading. Your audience's brain will still see the graph as one cohesive thing, but now the actual data stands out way more. Let's see this in action. The book walks through an amazing makeover of this cluttered line graph showing ticket volume received versus ticket volume processed. The original is a disaster. Heavy border, dark grid lines, unnecessary markers on every single data point, ugly diagonal text, trailing zeros everywhere. It's a perfect example of what happens when we let our software make our design choices. Here's the decluttering process, step by step. First, remove the chart border. It's not needed. Let white space frame your visual. Second, remove the grid lines. They compete with the data. If you absolutely must have them, make them super light gray, but ideally just get rid of them. Third, remove the data markers. Each little diamond and square adds mental clutter. The lines already show the data. Fourth, clean up the axis labels. Drop those pointless decimal zeros and rotate the month labels to horizontal. Fifth, label the data directly. Ditch the legend and put the words received and processed right next to the lines. Use color to connect them. Just with these few steps, the graph transforms. It's clean, light, and finally readable. But we're not done yet. We've cleared the stage. Now it's time to aim the spotlight. This is where we learn to control attention. Cole explains that our iconic memory, the superfast subconscious part of our visual system, is hardwired to pick up on what are called pre-attentive attributes. These are things like color, size, and position. When used strategically, they're like a secret signal to your audience's brain, telling them exactly where to look before they even realize they're looking. To prove this, she gives a simple test. Imagine a block of gray numbers. I ask you to count how many times the number 3 appears. It's slow and painful, scanning line by line. Now imagine the same block, but every 3 is bold and black. You don't have to search. The 6's 3's just pop out instantly. Your brain spots them before you've even consciously started looking. That's the power of a pre-attentive attribute. So how do we use this? The key is to use these attributes sparingly. Color is your most powerful tool, but if you use 10 different colors, nothing stands out. It's like trying to spot a hawk in a sky full of exotic birds, just a confusing mess. But spot a hawk in a sky full of pigeons? Easy. Cole's signature style is to design her visuals almost entirely in shades of gray, then use one single bold color like blue to highlight the one and only thing she wants you to see first. This creates a crystal clear visual hierarchy. The gray elements provide context but fade to the background. The blue elements are the story. Let's revisit our ticket volume graph. After decluttering, we had 2 clean lines. Now we push them both to the background by making them light gray. The story we want to tell is about the gap that forms between tickets received and processed after 2 employees quit in May. So we make the processed line bold blue and the received line dark gray. We add numeric labels only to the last few months where the gap is growing. Then we add simple text above. Please approve the hire of 2 full-time employees. And an annotation pointing to May. 2 employees quit in May. We haven't been able to catch up since. Now the graph isn't just data. It's an argument. It's a request. It has a point. It's telling a story. This brings us to the final and most important piece, embracing the full power of story itself. Data and facts alone don't inspire action. As Cole beautifully explains, stories resonate and stick with us in ways that raw data simply cannot. A story has a clear beginning, middle, and end. And so should our presentations. The beginning is the plot. This is where you set the stage, introduce the problem, and create what Nancy Duarte calls the tension between what is and what could be. This is where you grab attention by framing the problem in terms that matter to your audience. The middle is where you build your case. This is where you show the data, give examples, walk through your analysis. You're addressing the how and why. You're resolving the tension you created, showing the path from problem to solution. And the end is your call to action, the resolution. You must be explicit. What exactly do you want your audience to do now that they have this new understanding? The book ends with this masterful walkthrough that pulls every single lesson together. It starts with a cluttered, rainbow-colored bar chart, showing the average retail price of 5 products over 7 years. Impossible to see any trends. First, context. The story is for a VP of product who needs to decide on pricing for a new product. The goal is to recommend a competitive price range. Second, choose an effective visual. The bar chart becomes a line graph to better show trends over time. Third, eliminate clutter. Chart border, grid lines, and legend all disappear. Lines get labeled directly. Axes soften to gray. Fourth, focus attention. All lines go gray, pushing them to the background. Finally, tell a story. Cole builds the graph piece by piece across a series of slides with a clear narrative. Slide 1. She introduces the 2 dominant products, A and B, showing their high prices. The beginning. Slide 2. She introduces product C, which entered at a much lower price. Then she uses color to highlight how A and B's prices began falling in response. The conflict. Slide 3. She shows products D and E entering at lower price points, and how eventually all prices converge. Rising action. Slide 4. She highlights the final price points, showing the current average and a recommended range. The climax. Slide 5. The final slide is simple and bold. To be competitive, we recommend introducing our product below the $223 average, in the $150 to $200 range. The call to action. Look at the journey we just took. We went from a graph that just showed data to a presentation that told a story. It had plot, tension, and clear resolution. Every element was intentional, designed to guide the audience to a specific conclusion. That's the difference between showing data and storytelling with data. It's the difference between confusion and clarity, between inaction and action, and it's a skill that anyone, armed with these lessons, can master. As we wrap up, I want to reflect on why this book matters so much, especially right now. We live in a world absolutely drowning in data. More numbers, more metrics, more dashboards than ever before. But information isn't the same as understanding, and data isn't the same as a decision. The great myth of the information age is that if we just give people enough data, they'll make the right choice. But that's not how humans work. We're not rational creatures who make decisions based on spreadsheets. We're emotional, story-driven beings who are moved by narrative, context, and meaning. What Cole Nussbaumer Knaflic has done in storytelling with data is bridge that gap. She's given us a practical, compassionate, and incredibly clear guide to transforming the cold, hard facts of data into the warm, compelling power of human story. This book isn't just about making prettier charts. It's about learning a new language. It's about empathy, about putting yourself in your audience's shoes and asking, what do they need to see? How can I make this as clear and easy for them as possible? The most powerful lesson for me is this: simplicity and clarity are acts of respect for your audience. When you take time to remove clutter, focus attention, and build a narrative, you're honoring their time and intelligence. You're doing the hard work so they don't have to. And in return, they give you the most valuable thing they have: their attention. So how can you start putting this into practice today? You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Start small. First, the next time you create any communication with data, whether it's a single chart, a slide, or an email, stop and ask yourself those 3 fundamental questions. Who is my audience? What do I need them to know or do? What's my big idea in a single sentence? Just this one practice will bring incredible focus to your work. Second, pick one graph you made recently and give it the decluttering treatment. Can you remove the border, the grid lines? Can you soften the colors of your axes? See how much lighter and clearer it feels when you strip away just a few unnecessary elements. Third, embrace the power of gray. Next time you build a visual, try making everything gray first. Then ask yourself, what's the single most important thing I want my audience to see? Make only that one thing a bold, strategic color. You'll be amazed at how this simple technique instantly creates focus and tells a story. Ultimately, this book is about more than data. It's about communication, it's about influence, it's about leadership. In a world where anyone can make a chart, the person who can tell a story with that chart is the one who gets heard. They're the one who drives change. This book gives you the tools to become that person. That was a summary of Storytelling with Data by Cole Nussbaumer Knaflic. We've covered the core lessons today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you explore the territory yourself. The true value of this book is in its rich examples, thoughtful walkthroughs, and the way its principles begin to change how you see the world. This summary is your starting point, a way to know if this journey is right for you. If anything we've discussed today has sparked your curiosity or made you think differently, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a skill. It's about adopting a new mindset that can genuinely elevate how you communicate and the impact you have in your work and life. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, I'd be grateful if you could take a moment to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another transformative book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's continue to learn and grow together.